Recently, I watched a video on YouTube where people who were relatively new to using a Dremel or other similar rotary tool had purchased one of these mandrels here and seemed completely mystified by the admitted difficulty sometimes in removing the center screw that will hold the desired accessory grinding wheel, felt buffing pad, etc. in place. This sort of wheel or a cutting wheel and so on. There is actually a trick to it, but they come, it's true, often pretty tight. And this one's actually loose. Imagine that. Maybe they've changed it, but they often come really, really tight, and it's hard to hang on to this unless you use pliers, and you really don't want to chew up the shaft here or bend it because it'll run out of round. If you must use pliers, then I would hold it like that before you take a screwdriver to that slotted screw here. And why they don't use, I don't know, maybe an Allen wrench, a Torx, a miniature Torx would be great. If you could get one that small. The screws are impossible to find, by the way. If you lose that screw, I have hundreds, certainly dozens of styles and types of tiny little screws, and I don't have any that fit whatever the tiny thread is in here. But here's the easy trick. Put it into the Dremel. I've got a quick release type, fully adjustable chuck in it. But anyway, put it in there, lock it in place, hold it, and now the mandrel will not spin. Let me find that slot here. The mandrel will not spin as you loosen or tighten the screw. And as I've said, whatever you do, it's pretty short. Don't remove it. Don't lose it. You don't want to lose this thing. If you have some tiny little washers, it's not a bad idea to put one or two on there because they will make the supporting structure for this type of thin carbide cutting and grinding wheel a little wider and maybe a little harder to break. But either way, it'll work. My trick to be able to take these apart, especially once they've had a cutting or grinding wheel in it, and it's really, really tight, so that it won't slip, is to take this mandrel and take this type of grinding bit and grind a flat spot on either side of the mandrel so that it'll give you some grip for your fingers. It'll be much easier to hang on to. If you must put pliers on it, with two flats on it, it will not slip. When you tighten or loosen the screw, you can really put some pressure on it. If I could tighten this enough, I'd probably break the wheel. But that's how you do it rather than trying to hold it in your fingers. For some reason, they're so tight at the factory a lot of the time. That's been my experience in the past. That can be annoying. So there's the hack, the quick trick for the mandrels. Now, one other thing I'll point out, I also have some mandrels here and diamond cutting wheels, grinding wheels from Harbor Freight. These are a little different. The screw in the mandrel, if I unscrewed it, you'd see it's fatter, and you can see from the size of the holes in the disc that obviously this is not going to fit onto the Harbor Freight one very easily, and this cannot be used on a Dremel mandrel. It'll just slop around, it'll be out of round and it won't be easy to work with. You can, however, enlarge this hole slightly, scrape it out with a razor blade, kind of force the screw through it without damaging the threads. That's important. But anyway, you could get this onto the Harbor Freight mandrels with the larger screw, but you can forget putting these onto a regular Dremel type mandrel. One other thing I will pass on, two other things actually. First of all, Dremel sells these quick release things where you're supposed to pull this piece back and turn the disc. It's probably easy if I do it like this. And turn the disc 90 degrees and it'll come off, something like that. It's easier if this is chucked into the tool, I think, to hold it for you. You won't need a third hand. But anyway, they suck. They tend to be pretty wobbly. This part kind of under pressure, under load, will spring back from the pressure of the wheel pushing on it as you bear into something with the wheel that you're cutting or grinding. So I don't like them. And actually, I bought some other wheels elsewhere that were close enough that I could adapt them. They're a little large for a Dremel tool, but they will work. They'll fit the Dremel, or I think even enlarged to fit the slightly larger mandrel arbor of a Harbor Freight wheel. And these are nice. Dremel sells these. They're not expensive. They fit most of the Dremel tools, and they are infinitely variable in size from a 1/16 of an inch all the way up to the normal fat 1/8 inch, of which Dremel has 4 sizes of collets. If you're using the collets, you will see here that the collets are actually marked with a number of rings or grooves on the bottom of them, on the bottom end, and that tells you what size they fit, what size accessory. But rather than use the collets, which you'll see I've separated by size here, and I have some non-original ones. These are aluminum. Original Dremels are aluminum, but some other companies use steel or brass, and these particular ones do fit the Dremel tool. But you'll see I've got collets from 1/8 inch, 16, 3/32, and 1/8 inch. But if you use this, if it fits your tool, then you don't really need the extra collets. I did discover, having purchased a Ryobi battery-powered cordless unit recently, the earlier version of this had a quick-release chuck that was a problem for everybody. It didn't work. And it was 1/8 inch only. This, however, they've changed it. It's now a more or less continually adjustable, continually variable. Well, no, it's not. Sorry. It looks like it is, but it takes and comes with a 1/8 inch collet. So it only takes 1/8 inch shanks, which this should be. And here, I'll tighten it down. There we go. It's in there. Okay. Pretty good as, like a quick release goes. But I also found that let me get this off. That would be nice. There we go. Unscrew it almost all the way. You can remove it. There's the collet, which is steel, unlike the Dremel ones. It's 1/8 inch. You can simply pop the Dremel chuck, infinitely variable. That's the term I was looking for. Guess I didn't get enough sleep. But this has an infinitely variable chuck, and it will take any size you want, of drill bit or accessory up to 1/8 inch. So, it's nice if you want to use maybe some of these little drills that Harbor Freight sells that have an 1/8 inch shank. Pretty much everything at Harbor Freight, I think, is 1/8" shank. But this makes it infinitely variable. You also have the option, if you have a Dremel tool already and you have Dremel collets, they could be fit. This is the 1/32, and it stops apparently because the metal is flared just a little at the end where the ring, the one ring that donates the size, is. But if you sanded the end of this just a little bit, it would fit. If you take the 1/8 size Dremel stock collet, it has no rings on the end of it, and it fits right in. And it fits perfectly with the original Dremel collar. Okay, works for 1/8" only. Okay, but you could, if you have the other collets, you should be able to take a little bit of sandpaper to the end, remove, can you see the little rings there? Let's see if it focuses. There we go. If you remove those rings or the little burring at the end, it should fit. Okay. But the other simple thing, and perhaps handier, is to just use a Dremel chuck. Infinitely variable, fits whatever you want. I'll do a full review on this later, and I'll contrast it to the Harbor Freight Bower tool, which is a bit bigger and more powerful. But now that this will take some of the Dremel accessories, pretty reasonable unit for low money. Hope you find this helpful.